He didn't stop because of the sign. He stopped because the boy's hands were shaking, but his voice wasn't. A toy car, two brothers, one last chance to save their mother. The world passed them by. Until the man no one recognized remembered what it felt like to be forgotten. This isn't a story about charity. It's about what happens when silence becomes protection, and how one broken car brought three lost hearts back to life. Before we dive in, let us know where you're watching from today, and if you like this story, don't forget to subscribe. Morning hung low and reluctant over a forgotten parking lot behind a strip mall in East Los Angeles. The asphalt was dark with last night's rain, still wet in the cracks. Steam rose in coils from sewer grates, mixing with the faint scent of spilled coffee and damp paper. A streetlight flickered once, then died for the day. Two boys sat on the cold concrete curb, knees pulled in tight. A warped piece of cardboard leaned against a shopping cart behind them, the words scrawled in marker, uneven and shaky. Selling toy car, need medicine for mom. Between them sat a small red car, worn along the edges, its paint chipped from years of play. The wheels were intact, the windshield scratched but clean. Someone had taken care to wipe it with something soft, a shirt sleeve maybe. Mateo, the older one by 7 minutes, kept his hands cupped over the toy as if the wind might carry it away. Elias leaned against him, silent, his breath visible in the cold air, eyes on the ground. A few cars pulled in. A man in scrubs rushed toward the grocery entrance. A woman in heels balanced coffee and a phone, not even glancing their way. Somewhere a radio crackled. A dog barked twice, then went quiet. No one stopped. The first man to pause did so out of irritation, not concern. Middle-aged, trim gray beard, hands in gloves, selling toys. He muttered, eyes narrowing at the sign. This some TikTok stunt. Mateo straightened. No, sir, it's real, we're just. The man cut in. Sure, bet your mom's sick in 3 different cities today. He glanced down at the toy. What's that worth? $5. You think guilt's a currency? Elias flinched. Mateo's fingers curled tighter around the car. We're not lying, he said, voice small, as if apologizing for existing. The man shook his head, lips twitching into a bitter half-smile. Learn young, manipulate early, retire rich. He walked on. A gust of wind blew in behind him, flapping the cardboard sign. The toy car rolled forward, wobbling. Mateo lunged, catching it just before it slipped off the edge into a rain-filled gutter. Across the lot, another shopper paused. A woman in a beige coat. She raised her phone. The boys froze, hope flickering. But she just snapped a photo of the sign and walked away, shaking her head. I'm so tired of this city, she muttered, to no one. Someone else chuckled. Should we brought a violin? More tips. No one stopped. No one knelt down. No one asked their names. The sun crept higher, pale and expressionless. Shadows shortened. The lot filled, emptied, filled again. The boys remained. Mateo turned the car gently in his hands, running his thumb along the roof, over the tiny molded mirrors, as if they were still unbroken. Elias pulled a crumpled napkin from his jacket, wiped his nose, then folded it carefully and tucked it back into his pocket. A delivery van backed up. A horn honked. A door slammed. No one stopped. A line of ants marched by the boys' feet, undisturbed. Their shoes were worn to the thread. The plastic on Mateo's left sole had split. Elias' laces were knotted in 3 places. The toy car sat between them again, silent, waiting. Its surface gleamed briefly as the light struck it. It was not just a toy, it had weight, memory. It had once been a gift. It was now a last offering. The corner of the parking lot held a cold stillness, though the sun had begun to warm the tops of the dumpsters and shopping carts. Far off, someone shouted. A car alarm chirped and silenced itself. The morning moved forward, oblivious. Arnold stepped out of his vehicle, boots landing heavily on the damp asphalt. He wore an old canvas jacket, stiff at the shoulders, darkened by time and use. His left hand gripped a paper bag of groceries. The other hovered briefly over the door before he shut it, not with a slam, but the quiet weight of habit. His back was straight, but the weight he carried was not visible. Only the way his eyes paused too long on shadows. He didn't notice the boys at first. Not until the sound reached him, a voice thin and earnest, carried on the wind like breath against stone. "Sir, would you like to buy our car?" He turned, two boys, one sign, one toy. The older boy spoke again, holding up the red car with both hands, arms out like an offering. The younger boy's head was bowed, but his fingers twitched, clinging to the edge of the sign as if to keep the world from blowing it away. Arnold didn't answer, didn't move, he simply looked. Their faces were still, too still. Not the blankness of innocence, but the stillness of children who have already stopped hoping. The car in the boy's hands glinted, red, scratched, but clean. There was a sound, faint, buried, of rubber scraping pavement as someone nearby rolled a cart. The boy's voice came again, softer. "It's really fast." The doors opened too. Arnold took a slow step forward, then another. He stopped in front of them, looked at the toy, then at the boy holding it. "Why are you selling it?" The answer came without hesitation. "For our mom," the younger one said, lifting his head for the first time. "She's sick." A bus pulled up behind them, hissing as it settled. No one got off. No one looked their way. Arnold reached into his coat pocket, pulled out his wallet, opened it, peeled off several bills, folded them once, and held them out. The boy hesitated, then took them, not with eagerness, but with care. He counted them with his eyes only. His fingers did not tremble. He simply nodded, then extended the car. Arnold accepted it. It felt warm from the boy's hands, lighter than he expected. "Thank you, sir," the older boy said, voice edged with something almost like relief, but not joy. Arnold said nothing. They turned, walked away quietly, no running, no celebration. Just the hush of children carrying something heavy between them. Arnold remained still, the toy car resting in his hand. He watched them pass the bus, cross the lot, and disappear between two delivery trucks. He could have turned back. But he didn't. The car felt strange in his grip, familiar in a way that shouldn't have been possible. He turned to his own vehicle, opened the door, then paused. Behind him, the boys were now across the street, walking fast. The older one whispered something, the younger nodded. Arnold closed the door without getting in. A moment passed, then quietly to no one, "Follow them." His voice was gravel. The driver stepped from the shadows where he'd been waiting, startled but silent. Arnold kept his eyes on the street, the toy still in his hand. They followed slowly, at a distance. The city blurred past the windows, and still he held the car. He did not set it down. Through tinted glass, he watched the boys stop at an intersection. The smaller one leaned forward, pressing the button at the crosswalk like it mattered. The red hand blinked. Then the white figure glowed. They stepped forward. Arnold sat back. The leather of the seat creaked beneath his shoulders. The toy was small in his palm. Its wheels didn't spin. He turned it over once, twice. His thumb brushed the side mirror. It was cracked neatly, like a memory that never quite shattered. Outside, the boys turned a corner. He didn't know why he was still watching, but he was. The street narrowed as the boys turned off the main road and into a forgotten alley pinned between two aging apartment buildings. The sidewalk there was cracked and uneven, weeds pushing through like they refused to give up. A broken stroller leaned against a dumpster. Graffiti bloomed along the brick, not angry, just tired. Arnold followed from a distance, his car creeping forward in near silence. The engine idled low. Through the tinted glass, he watched as Matteo paused beside a rusted gate, checked both directions, then waved his brother through. Elias ducked beneath a bent slat of fencing. They disappeared. The car stopped. Arnold didn't speak. The driver waited for instruction that didn't come. A pigeon clattered down from the ledge above and landed near the hood. It watched him with one eye, then took off again. He opened the door. The stairwell reeked of mildew and fried oil. Paint peeled from the walls in long strips, curling like old bark. Arnold climbed, his breath steady, his steps deliberate. Each floor passed like memory. On the fourth landing he heard them. Laughter, soft, quick, then silence, a shuffle of feet, a cough from deep inside. He stopped at the door. It was slightly ajar, held by a folded envelope stuck in the frame. He knocked. A moment passed. Then Matteo appeared in the gap, startled. His eyes widened. "It's the man from the parking lot," he whispered to someone behind him. The door opened a little wider. Elias stood next to his brother, unsure. Arnold didn't move, "Can I come in?" he asked. The boys hesitated. Then wordlessly they stepped back. He entered. The apartment was small, sparse, clean in the way people clean when they don't own much. The floor swept bare, plastic bowls stacked neatly on a crate. A thin curtain hung in place of a door to the bedroom. Through it, he saw a shape under a blanket, curled inward. "That's our mom," Elias said quietly. "She's sleeping." Arnold nodded. Mateo stepped forward. "She gets fevers," he said, voice flat. "Sometimes she doesn't wake up for hours." The air inside the apartment was still, heavy with something metallic. The smell of sickness, of days spent inside without circulation. Arnold walked to the doorway. The woman lay on a mattress on the floor, her hair damp, lips parted. Her breathing was shallow, chest rising in slow, uneven pulls. Her face, even in illness, mirrored the boy's same bone structure, same narrow brow. She looked young, worn. He crouched down beside her. His knees cracked as he moved, but he didn't wince. He reached out, placed the back of his hand lightly against her forehead. It burned. "She needs a hospital," he said. The boys said nothing. "We don't have money," Mateo whispered. "That's why." He didn't finish. Arnold stood. He looked around the apartment again, at the 2 school bags lined against the wall, at the fan with one missing blade, at the curtain moving ever so slightly in the breeze from the cracked window. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out the red toy car, held it up. "You already sold me this," he said. "Now it's my turn." No one responded. He stepped into the bedroom, bent low, and with careful motion lifted the mother from the mattress. Her head fell against his shoulder. One of her arms dangled, fingers still curled as if clinging to a bedsheet. "Grab her shoes," he said. The boys scrambled. A moment later they were in the stairwell. Arnold descended one slow step at a time, the woman in his arms, her breath now audible and shallow in his ear. The hallway was empty. No one peered out. No doors cracked open. Only the hum of a flickering exit sign. Outside, the car waited. The driver stood ready, but Arnold gave no orders. He opened the back door himself, laid her down gently across the seats, adjusted the belt, closed the door. He turned. The boys stood there, unsure if they should follow. Elias clutched the shoes, his fingers gripping them too tightly. Arnold opened the other door. "Get in," he said. They did. The engine started. No one spoke as the car pulled away. Arnold sat in the front passenger seat. The toy car remained in his hand. He looked down at it. One wheel was chipped. There was a fingerprint smudged on the windshield, a tiny arc in the dust. He didn't wipe it off. The car moved through the city, passing stoplights, fast food signs, and faded murals. The sun was higher now, but still soft, still hiding behind haze. The hospital came into view. Arnold didn't flinch. The waiting room was quiet, but not silent. Somewhere down the corridor, a machine beeped in rhythm, the kind that made you aware of your own pulse. Plastic chairs lined the wall, every third one with a crack or stain. A paper cup lay crushed near the water cooler, forgotten. Arnold sat without leaning back, his spine straight, both feet planted, his coat folded neatly across his lap. His hands rested atop it, unmoving. The boys sat across from him. Mateo stared at the linoleum floor. Elias swung his feet, too short to touch the ground, his fingers wrapped around the laces of his untied shoe. A nurse passed. No one looked up. The door to the exam room opened with a quiet click. A woman in scrubs stepped out. Young, calm, her badge read Angela D. She walked over and crouched to the boy's level. "She's stable," she said gently. "She'll need rest, fluids, and time, but she's okay." Mateo nodded once. Elias whispered, "Can we see her?" Angela smiled. "In a little while, she's sleeping now." She turned to Arnold. Her face didn't shift, didn't assume recognition. She only said, "Thank you for bringing her in. Most people don't." He didn't answer. She left. The silence returned, but it felt different, softer. Elias stood and walked to Arnold. He didn't say anything, just climbed into the seat beside him, sat still. After a few seconds, he leaned sideways, resting his head on Arnold's arm, not fully, just enough to be felt. Arnold didn't move. From across the room, Mateo watched, his lips pressed together, unsure if he should speak. You have kids?" he asked. Arnold blinked, slowly. "Yes," he said. The boy's voice softened. "Where are they?" A pause. Arnold looked at the floor, then away. Not here. The boy didn't press. They sat like that for a while. The hallway emptied. Light shifted on the walls. When the nurse returned, she led them down the corridor. Matteo walked ahead, carrying a cup of water in both hands. Elias followed, clutching Arnold's coat, not out of need, but out of instinct. The room was small, one bed, a metal tray, a screen with numbers no one read. The woman lay asleep, color returning to her cheeks, her breathing deeper, arms tucked under the blanket like a child. Matteo placed the cup on the bedside table with both hands, careful not to spill. Elias stood by the window, watching traffic below. Arnold remained at the door, then something shifted. The woman stirred, her eyelids fluttered. Matteo moved first. Mama. Her eyes opened, unfocused. She blinked slowly, then found his face. My Silo, she whispered. Her hand reached for him, he took it. Tears came, not from fear, but from the sudden weight of relief. Elias turned and ran to her. The mother, still weak, pulled them close, one on each side. Arnold turned to leave. Wait, the woman said, voice hoarse. He stopped. Her eyes met his. There was no question in them, just the exhaustion of someone who'd been carrying too much for too long. You brought me here. He nodded. She tried to sit up, winced. He stepped forward without thinking and adjusted the pillow behind her back. She watched him. Her eyes searched for something, gratitude, fear, understanding, but mostly, why, he didn't answer. The boys sat beside her now, hands in hers. She said nothing more. He stepped back. She looked at her sons, then at the man. You're not just helping, she said. You're protecting. He didn't deny it. Outside, clouds began to gather. The window darkened slightly. Matteo reached into his backpack, pulled something out. Wait, he said. He walked to Arnold, opened his hand. Inside was a photo, a small, creased snapshot, faded color. It showed the mother, younger, holding both boys in her lap. A birthday cake in front of them, balloons behind, one candle. Can you keep this? Matteo asked. Just so you remember. Arnold looked at the photo. He took it, folded it once, placed it in his coat pocket, the same one that held the red toy car. He looked down at the boy, then turned to go. As he reached the hallway, Elias called out, Sir. He turned. Elias paused, unsure, then simply said, We didn't think anyone would care. Arnold said nothing, but he stood there longer than he needed to. It was early, too early for noise, too late for dreams. The cafe lights were dimmed low, just enough to trace outlines, the rim of a stool, the curve of a spoon left out from the night shift. A slow hum of the refrigerator. Rain tapped faintly against the windows like memory trying to return. Grace stood behind the counter, adjusting the chairs. She worked without music, without phone. Just the sound of cloth against wood and her own breath. The bell over the door did not ring. He was already there. Arnold sat in the far booth, same coat, same stillness, as if he had been waiting since the night before. He didn't call to her, didn't gesture. She finished stacking the last chair, walked over, not quickly. She didn't ask why he was there. She didn't need to. There were no customers yet. She placed a small metal tin on the table between them. It made a soft, short sound. Inside, napkins, salt, pepper, a sugar packet folded in half. She returned to the counter. He opened the tin, found nothing unusual, except beneath the napkins, a receipt, old, yellowed, dated 3 weeks ago. It listed a single item, black coffee, paid in silence. He folded the receipt once, tucked it inside his coat. Grace poured him a fresh cup. No words. She set it down gently, then wiped the table around it, not because it was dirty, but because the gesture gave her something to do. He didn't drink. She returned behind the counter. A few minutes passed. Then the door opened. 2 boys came in, slightly wet from the rain. Elias led the way, dragging a plastic toy car behind him. Its wheels squeaked. The smaller boy, Noah, wore mismatched shoes. They stopped at the entrance. Grace met their eyes, nodded once. They rushed to the booth where Arnold sat. Elias placed something on the table. It was a folded napkin. Inside it, a coin. The same brass cafe token from the old register, one they used to give out to regulars years ago. Slightly tarnished, but whole. Elias pointed at it, then at Arnold. No words, just a silent handover. Noah stood on tiptoes to see better. Grace didn't interfere. Arnold looked at the boys, then at the coin. He didn't take it, didn't move, only blinked once slowly. Then Elias reached forward, took Arnold's hand, and placed the coin in it directly. Still no words. Arnold closed his fingers around the coin, not tightly, just enough to hold. The boys stepped back. Noah gave a small, unsteady bow, then both turned and left, dragging the car behind them. The door closed, the bell rang. It was the first sound in minutes. Arnold remained seated. He placed the coin on the table, next to the steaming cup. He looked toward the counter. Grace was already walking away, apron in hand, stepping into the back room. She left the lights on, left the coffee warm, left the silence intact. Arnold stayed there a moment longer, then he turned the coin once under his thumb, just once, and let go. It was still dark when he arrived. The hospital hallway hummed faintly. No announcements, no footsteps, just a floor so clean it reflected light like glass, and a quiet so pure it made every breath sound guilty. Arnold stood in front of room 212. Motionless, the door wasn't fully shut. Inside, the air was warm, not from the heaters, from the weight of waiting. Machines blinked gently in corners. A low beep tracked time that no one in the room believed in. Elias sat curled in a chair beside the bed, shoes kicked off, socks damp. His chin had fallen onto his chest. One hand still gripped the blanket, as if holding on to more than fabric. On the pillow, her face was pale but softer now. Breathing, a plastic butterfly clip still clung to her hair, crooked. It didn't belong there. It belonged to someone else. Arnold didn't enter. He watched from the doorway. Rain slid down the window beside her, tracing crooked lines between her and the sky. She stirred not from pain, from memory. Then her fingers moved gently, slowly toward her side. She touched something tucked beneath the sheet. A photograph. It was creased, aged by hands more than time. Arnold, younger, not much. Standing next to a car he no longer drove. Behind him, two boys in Halloween capes, one grinning, one mid-blink. She turned the photo slightly, just enough to angle it toward the light. She didn't smile. She just kept it there. Between her fingers, like a thread she'd refused to cut. Arnold looked down. In his right hand, a small object, a hospital visitor tag, wrinkled, slightly damp. He hadn't checked in. He could have walked away. He didn't. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and removed a folded card, blank on the outside. He opened it, checked the content once, then placed it gently on the small table beside the IV machine. He turned to leave, but stopped. The younger boy, Noah, appeared from behind the curtain, hair messy, sweatshirt backward. He looked up at Arnold, didn't say a word. Arnold knelt slightly, met him at eye level. Noah reached into his backpack, took out a toy. A red plastic police badge with a missing clip. He handed it over, no words. Arnold accepted it without expression. Then Noah turned, climbed back into a second chair near the bed, and curled next to his brother. Arnold stood up again. The mother opened her eyes. They met his. Neither blinked. The machines kept their rhythm. The room, its breath. She didn't nod, didn't weep, but her fingers, still holding the photo, shifted. She placed it face down, slid it toward the edge of the bed. It stopped just short of falling, a gesture not of rejection, but release. Arnold stepped back. He reached the hallway, pressed one hand to the cold wall just beside the room number. Let it rest there. Then he walked away, slowly, the badge still in hand. The sun hadn't fully risen. It sat low behind the hills, casting long amber lines through the windows of the community garage. Inside, the old Camaro was still there, untouched. Dust clung to its hood like time refusing to leave. A faded tarp sagged halfway off one side, exposing the chrome beneath, dulled but unbroken. The boys were already waiting. One sat cross-legged on the concrete, drawing slow circles in the dust with a screwdriver. The other leaned against a toolbox, arms folded, staring at the door as if he'd willed it open himself. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The door creaked open, not suddenly, but with the weight of someone who'd hesitated for hours. Arnold stepped inside. He didn't carry anything. No bag, no coffee, no folder. Only the red plastic badge in his coat pocket, worn smooth by touch, not time. The older boy stood up first. He didn't move toward Arnold, just looked at him squarely, steadily, like he was waiting for something older than forgiveness. Arnold walked past him. He stopped beside the car, ran one hand along the edge of the hood as if checking for life beneath the metal. Then he reached into his back pocket and pulled out a folded cloth, grey, soft at the corners, stained with oil, and began to clean. He didn't explain, didn't instruct, just wiped. The boys watched. After a minute, the younger one joined. No words, just picked up a rag from the floor and started at the bumper. A silence formed, not awkward, reverent. Arnold handed the older boy a wrench. He accepted it. Together, without ceremony, they lifted the hood. The engine was exposed, old, aching, but there. Arnold pointed to a single bolt, held his fingers like a guide just above the boy's hand, then stepped back. The boy adjusted, tightened, didn't look up, didn't need praise, just kept going. Arnold turned slightly, reached for a small box he had tucked behind a crate. He opened it. Inside, resting on a velvet square, was a single ignition key, not new, not polished, but clean. He placed it gently on the dashboard, not handed, not gifted, placed. The sun reached the window then, lit the side of Arnold's face. His expression didn't change, but the stillness in the room softened. The younger boy stepped to his side, slipped a tiny photograph into Arnold's back pocket without asking. A drawing, crumpled at the corner, but intact. Stick figures, one tall, one medium, one short, standing beside a red car. No names. Just 3 stars above their heads. Arnold didn't remove it, didn't turn. He simply closed the hood, and for the first time in a long time stayed.